Hey everyone, welcome back to Masonzero MTG. As with every new Magic set, I'll be going over my favorite new cards for Cube. Adventures in the Forgotten Realms honestly doesn't have a lot to offer for Cube, which is something that a lot of people have been talking about. But in this video, I'll try to take a unique look at some interesting cards that could be good for budget cubers or cubers who obtain most of their cards by opening packs of recent sets. And that being said, while this set doesn't have much for Cube, it's very fun to draft as its own set, so if you haven't done that, I highly recommend it. That being said, I have a couple honorable mentions, and those are Power Word Kill and Portable Hole. While not very exciting, these two cards have been the most talked about as being decent for Cube. Power Word Kill hits pretty much everything in the early game, and is only invalid on a small handful of late game threats. Portable Hole is also a very cheap artifact-based exile effect that can take care of an early game permanent. Again, these are fine, but there are plenty of other great options for these types of removal spells, and they're not the most flashy or exciting. So here's my top 5, let me know if you agree. Guardian of Faith. Guardian of Faith is a white 3-drop creature that serves kind of as a protection spell. It's a good reactive piece of protection when faced with a board wipe or an unfortunate set of blocks. Even if all you use it for is to save one creature from removal, getting a 3/2 with Vigilance that flashed in on your opponent's turn is not terrible. The only similarity that is played in Cube is probably Restoration Angel, but of course that card can flicker something for more enters the battlefield effects. Does this fit into your aggro or even control strategy? Maybe. It's not the most exciting card, but it's certainly decent. Circle of Dreams Druid. It's Gaia's Cradle on a 3-mana creature. Circle of Dreams Druid costs 3 green mana, which can be steep in some cubes, but will be okay in a cube that supports Devotion or monocolored decks pretty decently. The mono green player will certainly be happy to have a card like this. I think it could be fun in cubes that are budget oriented and want a more accessible card with this kind of big mana effect, or if you have something like an X Spells Matters theme. There are a few reasons this card could be good, so maybe it's worth trying out in a lower power level. Forsworn Paladin. Forsworn Paladin is an interesting black 1-drop that could be good in black aggro. It's only kind of an aggro card itself though, coming in as a 1/1 with Menace, but it can give a creature +2/+0 until end of turn, and make Treasure, which can be cashed in with the other ability to give the creature Death Touch. Technically you can spend your first 3 turns just using this, play it on turn 1, make a Treasure on turn 2, and attack as a 3/1 with Menace on turn 3. Yeah, okay, maybe not the best for your aggro deck. Maybe it serves better as a mid-range card that comes down early, or some interesting treasure-based ramp in black. Either way, it does a lot for 1 mana. Sorcerer Class. This class enchantment is a pretty cool blue-red enchantment that supports Storm, as well as just general spellcasting decks. When it comes down, it does an Izzet Charm, which is okay. The second ability is only 2 more mana and lets your creatures tap for mana. This is a solid combination with a card like Young Pyromancer, which spits out tokens that may be too small to always attack effectively. Sorcerer Class can just help you ramp into your big spells. Level 3 costs 5 mana, which can also be paid for with the help of your creatures, and says that whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, it deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of instants and sorceries you've cast this turn. So a little bit like Storm, but not quite. The final ability is a decent way to chip in with a few extra damage in the late game, but I think that level 2 is the best one, and the cheap card filtering for only 2 mana when it comes down is a pretty good place to start. Triumphant Adventurer. Triumphant Adventurer is a really cool black-white aggro card. At just 2 mana, it's a scary attacker with a deadly combo of Death Touch and First Strike on your turn. On top of that, it's one of the few dungeon cards that doesn't require additional help, and venturing into the dungeon is really just the cherry on top. The only way to take care of this creature is with another First Strike creature or just with a removal spell, but as long as your opponent only has regular creatures on the battlefield, this aggro card lets you get an incremental value, which is sometimes exactly what an aggro deck needs to keep momentum going throughout the game. Alright, these are my top 5 cards. I do want to mention a few others that may be decent inclusions. The creature lands are pretty interesting and may be fun if you currently run any creature lands, as these are pretty decent especially compared to the older uncommon monocolored ones. Lolth Spider Queen is a fun death-based planeswalker that is probably better than Ob Nixilis if you're currently running him. Froghemoth is nothing crazy compared to other big green creatures, but that being said, a 4/4 Trample Haste with Scavenging Ooze-like abilities is pretty interesting and may have its place. Orcus, Prince of Undeath, is probably way too slow, but I like its abilities. It can just be a 4 mana 5/3 with Flying and Trample, which is totally fine, but by paying additional mana, you can Toxic Deluge or reanimate multiple creatures for a hasty surprise combat. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know with a like or a comment. I'd love to hear what cards from this set you're thinking about putting into your cube, if any at all. I know a lot of you are choosing not to even touch this set, or to maybe only take a couple cards. I think this set is definitely more geared towards lower power level cubes. Nothing wrong with that, but for those of you who have powerful cubes, there's really not much here for you. Anyways, I will see you when the next set drops for more cube content. See you in the next one.